Let's get to the facts. When it comes to firearms in the United States, not all accessories are treated equally under the law. In the US, some firearm accessories, like suppressors and short-barreled rifles, or SBRs, face much stricter rules than standard guns. These items are often misunderstood, both in how they work and how they're regulated. A suppressor, often called a silencer, attaches to a gun's barrel to reduce noise and muzzle flash. Despite the nickname, it doesn't make a gun silent, just less damaging to hearing, and it can help protect shooters and bystanders from hearing loss. Suppressors are also used to reduce recoil and muzzle rise, making shooting more comfortable and accurate. An SBR is a rifle with a barrel under 16 inches, making it more compact but also more regulated. These shorter rifles are easier to maneuver in tight spaces, which is why they're popular for home defense and certain types of hunting, but their size also places them under stricter scrutiny. Both are controlled by the National Firearms Act of 1934, a law meant to curb gang violence by making certain weapons harder to get. The NFA was a response to the crime wave of the Prohibition era, when lawmakers sought to restrict access to weapons they believed were favored by criminals. To buy a suppressor or SBR, you need to submit paperwork, fingerprints, a photo, and pay a $200 tax to the ATF, then wait months for approval. This process can take anywhere from several months to over a year, depending on backlogs and processing times. These hurdles have kept many law-abiding gun owners from owning them for sport, hunting, or defense. For some, the cost and weight are simply too high, even though these items are legal in many states. The current debate. Are these restrictions outdated burdens that unfairly target responsible owners, or are they necessary safeguards that help keep dangerous weapons out of the wrong hands? Gun rights advocates see suppressors as safety tools that protect hearing and SBRs as just another type of rifle with practical uses, while gun control supporters argue the rules protect public safety by making it harder for criminals to access these potentially dangerous accessories. This clash is now front and center in Congress, as lawmakers debate whether to modernize these laws or keep them in place for future generations. The push in Congress started with a simple idea, one that seemed straightforward at first glance. Lawmakers proposed to cut the $200 tax on suppressors, a fee that had been in place for decades and was seen by many as outdated. The original plan was modest. It kept all other regulations in place: background checks, registration requirements, and the long waiting periods that buyers had grown accustomed to. But gun rights groups saw an opportunity for broader change. They began a vocal campaign, urging lawmakers to go further and remove suppressors from the National Firearms Act entirely. Their persistent efforts paid off. The House responded by passing a sweeping bill, Registry Block Now pushed, that would deregulate suppressors, making them as easy to buy as a regular rifle, with far fewer restrictions. No more months-long waits or federal registration, just a standard background check at a gun store, streamlining the process for buyers across the country. The bill also included a provision to ban federal funds from being used to tax short-barreled rifles, another long-standing point of contention for gun owners. This dramatic shift in policy passed the House by a razor-thin margin, highlighting just how deeply divided lawmakers remain on gun issues. Now, the bill moves to the Senate, where its fate is uncertain and the debate is expected to intensify. What began as a simple tax cut has now become a major battle over the future of gun policy in America, drawing national attention and fierce opinions on both sides. The stakes couldn't be higher, as the outcome could reshape the landscape of American gun laws for years to come. Gun rights groups say this is about safety and correcting a mistake. They argue suppressors protect hearing for shooters and bystanders, and point to Europe, where suppressors are common and lightly regulated. In many countries, they're seen as noise reduction tools, not threats. Supporters say fears about silent crime are Hollywood myths. Suppressors don't make guns quiet, and legal suppressors are rarely used in crimes. For them, deregulation is about defending the Second Amendment and pushing back against what they see as government overreach. They believe the NFA unfairly restricts law-abiding citizens. This fight is about more than noise, it's about rights. Gun control advocates see deregulation as a threat to public safety. They argue the sound of gunfire is a vital warning in emergencies, helping people escape and police respond. Suppressors, they say, could muffle this warning, making shootings deadlier and harder to stop. The Virginia Beach shooting, where a suppressor was used, is cited as a real-world example. Police worry that suppressed gunfire is harder to locate, putting officers and the public at risk. For these groups, NFA rules are a necessary barrier, not just red tape. They're urging the Senate to reject the bill, arguing safety outweighs convenience. The debate, public safety versus individual rights. The Senate is the next battleground for this controversial bill, but it faces a series of tough procedural hurdles that could determine its fate. The atmosphere is tense as lawmakers prepare for a complex legislative showdown. Because it's part of a budget reconciliation bill, the legislation can't be filibustered, meaning only 51 votes are needed for passage, rather than the usual 60. This gives supporters a narrow but real path forward. However, the Byrd Rule strictly limits what can be included. Only provisions directly related to the federal budget are allowed to stay. Any unrelated policy changes can be stripped out by a single ruling. The Senate parliamentarian, acting as the chamber's referee, will decide whether removing suppressors from the NFA is truly a budgetary matter or simply a sweeping policy shift disguised as one. Gun rights groups argue that it's fundamentally about taxes and fees, while opponents insist it's a major change to national gun policy that goes far beyond budget concerns. If the parliamentarian rules against full deregulation, only the tax cut portion may survive the process, leaving the rest of the regulations intact. That could mean the $200 tax is eliminated, but the rest of the NFA process, like registration and background checks, would remain in place for suppressors. The same procedural rules and potential outcomes apply to short-barreled rifles, or SBRs, as well. Ultimately, the outcome hinges on a complex mix of Senate rules, the parliamentarians' judgment, and intense political maneuvering behind the scenes. If only the tax is eliminated, suppressors remain NFA items, still requiring paperwork, fingerprints, and long waits, but no $200 fee. This would likely boost applications, making suppressors more common, but also straining ATF resources. Hunters and sport shooters would adopt them more widely, normalizing their use. Gun rights groups would push to remove more NFA restrictions, using this as a stepping stone. Even a partial win would shift the landscape, emboldening advocates for further deregulation. Gun control supporters would see it as a partial defense, but a major policy change. The debate would only intensify. This fight is about more than suppressors or SBRs. It's about the future of gun laws in America. The House vote shows that rolling back federal gun regulations is now a real possibility. Whether the Senate passes, waters down, or blocks the bill, the debate has changed. Gun rights advocates are energized. Gun control groups are on alert. The outcome will set a precedent for future battles over the Second Amendment. If passed, suppressors could become commonplace. If not, the fight will only grow fiercer. Americans must now confront tough questions about safety, rights, and the role of government. This is just the latest chapter in the ongoing struggle over guns in America.